see how fast this goes. And Canning is waiting in a qualifier match. And Creature is waiting in a qualifying match. They're funny. Alright, let's get this game started. We've been following Jheffe. You know, he's a good Terran player, but he has been showing us his TVP. Now he's up against a Zerg player. Mackintac occasionally streams. I think a decent amount. And he's been a good player for quite some time. Also a really, really cool dude. One of those guys who, like, I don't really know super personally, or I didn't know, I guess. And he actually was just so chill. And so, like, you know, actual, like, a human being, like a regular human being. Whenever he was around, I was like, yeah, I'd like to hang out with this guy. He's cool. Because trust me, guys, sometimes I go to these conventions, and, not necessarily players, but certainly sometimes just random Starcraft 2 fans. They're, well, they're a little socially awkward. Now, these guys are really cool. I'm glad to see them both in the qualifying match, but only one of them can actually make it through. There's no lower bracket. There's no fourth qualifier. It all comes down to this. In the top right of Everdream, we have the blue Terran, Jheffe. In the bottom left is the red Zerg. It is Root Mackintac. So another Root versus Sloth esports game.
Game pause.
As you know about the PS5, I don't really know how I'm supposed to have strong feelings with the PS5. I mean, I've never really been into console wars. I was a PlayStation fan from the get-go just because Final Fantasy and the generation that I was getting into video games. I mean, technically I started getting into video games when I was like 4 years old, but doesn't really count. I don't know about that. And then I became a PC gamer because of World of Warcraft and stopped really being interested in console wars and whatnot, so I guess my answer is just like the PS4, I probably won't buy it on release. I'll wait until it's reduced in price. Yeah. Well, that is always interesting to see a drone scout, but if you believe the person you're playing against is favorable to 2 Raxes and 3 Raxes, then it can definitely be worth it. There's also something to be said about scouting when you know that you're the better player in the macro game, but I'm not sure they size each other up so much like that. I think, if anything, they're just like, yeah, we play against each other all the time, and whoever wins, wins, right? But I don't know their ladder record. And a lot of the times, these guys don't necessarily play in a lot of things that show up on a Ligulac. Quick check on that, though. Literally one thing shows up. 7 months ago for Cheesadelphia qualifier. Oh no, playoffs, actually. Cheesadelphia playoffs. Where Mackintac did lose 1-2 against Jheffe. But that's not really a whole lot to go off of, so... Well, that does suck. There's a decent amount of lost mining time. It's not the most important thing. There was no 2 racks. Jheffe goes into a regular 1 racks, expand into Hellions. Got 2 gases, so we'll see a starport come down too. Please refer to The Last of Us 2 as there is less of us now. What if there's more? What if they stopped dying to zombies and started having babies? You don't know. Overlord went really deep. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that was a mistake. There's no reason that it would scout the natural for as long as it did. It might just survive to the pillar. It might just. Oh my god. Okay. Good job saving that. It does want to see how many Hellions, the state of the wall of the Terran, and later on you can even see how many units are amassing as far as Marines and medevacs and whatnot, so... It is still a pretty nice thing to have, not just let it die. So it's a good thing he didn't lose it because of a silly mistake. Third hatchery is on the way, trying to spread some creep over there. Jheffe with the quick scouts, more than it is harassment, making sure he's not going to get roach busted or something like that. Neither one going for much cheese here. Just a Liberator with that fast stim for some double-pronged harassments and going for 6 aliens. Easy peasy, typical TvZ. There's a third CC scout from the Overlord, which is always nice. Kind of an anticipated thing, but seeing it at that time instead of seeing Hellbats form in front of his face, you know, is always nice. And then I guess we're just going to wait to see the actual order of Tech Lab versus Reactor on the factory stuff, and it is going to go right into a Tech Lab, so a little bit faster in the tank production. Double Engineering Bay. There we go. Mackintac, what are you going to do here? Most of our players really going into the fast Spire off of 3 bases, but Mackintac's lair is not coming down. Now, if it doesn't come down quickly, like 4 minutes, I would usually anticipate double evolution chambers. We don't have that either. And unfortunately, he just let a bunch of Hellions into the main base. The drones were pulled, but not very well, and unfortunately, the Liberator also got some damage done before it was taken down. 20 drones in total from the main and natural, 21 in total. That is a straight-up disaster. At this point, Mackintac, the only thing he can do is rush across the map to try and stall the third CC from going down. He will not be able to actually stall the third CC from finishing. The SCVs are already finished it, completed it, but at least he can stop the third CC from instantly transferring over, just because, I mean, there's not much else he could do. Even if he didn't have enough lings to really do that, you still kind of have to, I think you have to try. In this case, he did actually make a decent amount of lings. 26 can, well, I don't think I want to do that, yeah. But 26 can get us around on Marines without combat shields on a tank that's not siege, you know what I'm saying? And then they can stall this out. That's the best case scenario here for our red Zerg. And I'm still going to talk about the lack of technology and the lack of Spire and the lack of lair. And I mean, it's one thing to take 20 drones if you're about to get some little hooks started at the very least, right? But he does try and jump on top of the Marines, hoping the tank friendly fire might work in his favor. It doesn't really, and he just uses all of his lings to do that. Still no Baneling Nest. Mackintac is not looking very well prepared for a TvZ. Like, literally, just in general, a TvZ. Jheffe should be able to do a 2-tank push with the 1-1. Some more Marine reinforcements, I guess, after trading with those lings a little bit, and then I think he should win. Like, I really think that Mackintac just forgot about a Baneling Nest. I think everything was a little pushed off more than I would like, but if the drone count's really high, that could sometimes be why they did that. Like, really have a supercharged economy and try and make it work with lings. But again, we usually see, like, faster upgrades or at least slow Banelings available. But to make non-upgraded lings with 6 queens work against Terran pushes, IDK. IDK about that. I don't know, guys. Lair finally starts at 7.5 minutes, and Jheffe is actually giving Mackintac way too much respect. Usually don't put it that way, but that's the truth. You could actually run in here and slaughter a lot of these units since all of his upgrades are done. 1-1 and combat shields. But he's going to take it nice and slow. He's like a battle cruiser. Push up to the top left to take advantage of this little spot here for the tanks, and yeah. He's got to be a little worried about being surrounded, but he should also be clicking on these units and seeing no upgrades. Units are a little bit overstimmed here. There's only 2 medivacs that are helping out, but look at those lings just get shredded. They got depleted. And the queens can't do very much else. They can kind of help against the medevac count, but they're running out of transfuses, and Jheffe should have an army back at home ready to move all over here. He could have brought this tank as well and probably actually straight up won. 1-1 will apparently finish for Mackintac, but he's on still no Baneling Nest. I don't get this. I don't get it. Double drops to the right side. It's going to be really difficult to split these, just, again, bare lings. And Mackintac does eventually just tap out. I think that was just, like, a warm-up TvZ game, honestly. That was not, it was just not typical TvZ, and I didn't see any way that the atypicalness of it benefited him. Maybe I missed something. Prefer Starcraft on the Nintendo. It's like that meme where it's like, I went with the real Starcraft. I said the real Starcraft. I used to have a friend that would come over and play StarCraft 64 with me. He's a dirty Protoss player. It wasn't even Brood War, man. It was just regular StarCraft. You know, guys, honestly, I feel like such a boomer when people talk about Smash. Not only do I not keep track of what the most recent Smash game is, I also don't keep track of what characters are put in. And anytime I see it get upvoted on Reddit enough so that I see, like, the new character who's being included, I always look at it and go, ugh! What a dumb character to put in Smash. And then I just reminisce about the N64 Smash, which was the best Smash. And I don't care what anyone says. The GameCube was stupid, and so is Smash Melee. In the bottom left, up one, he is the Blue Terran, Jheffe. For Sloth Esports. In the top right, for Roots, he is Mackintac. I just know I'm gonna ruffle some feathers with that. I do like ruffling feathers. Is he gonna drone scout again for a 2-Rax? Maybe he's just especially paranoid of it on Everdream. I don't know Jheffe's style enough to say if he is a 2-Raxa cheeser in this matchup. He wasn't really a cheeser in TVP. You know, no early game or proxy rack, something like that, but he did do a lot of SCV pulls, so that could just be a TVP thing, though. It does seem to be, if you're going to guess what matchup a Terran player is frustrated with, my guess would always be TVP, even though occasionally you see them complain about TvZ. Wasn't there like an Archon mode in 64? Well, Melee has existed in StarCraft since the beginning, yeah. Which is, yeah, Archon mode. It was like this really cool thing, though, where I remember playing it with my brother, and you would have like a Protoss Nexus with 2 probes and 2 drones. It was very odd. My strategy for StarCraft, because I was like 7, was to play the Divide map. I literally had like a division that you needed to get shuttles to go over. Play Protoss, get the Dark Archons, and then just build up the other races' stuff. And yeah, it was so dumb it could never actually bridge the gap, so. Hide in the drone just to make sure the Reaper doesn't go directly towards the 3rd to snipe it.
You are doing something right, Captain.
It's not unheard of, but it is pretty bold of the Reapers to go directly to the 3rd. Just because they really need to see if the creep is spreading from the natural or not. But it is nice to make sure you do save that. It's still usually a good thing to do. Thank you, BADINTENTX, for the 13-month resub. The GameCube shade is real. Honestly, I don't really have many opinions about Smash, but I do think that the GameCube was overall a really dumb console. Didn't have very good games, the controller was stupid. And it paled in comparison to the rest of the consoles. That console war, GameCube absolutely lost. But it was like only $70 at a local GameStop, so me and a college roommate bought it. and we played some Smash on it. Didn't last very long. You playing Smash? Captain Falcon and Pikachu. Literally, that's who I play. And some of the newer ones I've also played Ganondorf, but yeah, I don't really care. Alright, Helene's Liberator Stim. Exact same build as last game. Mackintac, I gotta imagine he doesn't do the exact same build. Like, I really didn't see what made that build good, but he did lose 21 drones. And perhaps I missed him having an insane amount of drones, and that's what was supposed to be the benefit. Even with an insane economy, I mean, you need enough bases to utilize that insane economy. And I don't know if you can get enough bases to do that when you can't get banelings or to defend, or upgrades to help defend, or mutas to at least help buy time. So, like I said, I mean, if he does the exact same thing here, I think we'll maybe see what it's supposed to look like. Maybe. Squirrel is going to move to take care of the Liberator. It is going to re-siege, not just sacrifice itself to kill a bunch of drones. Hellions do not get into the third hatchery drone line. But the drone count doesn't look that much better. And we still don't have a lair past 5 minutes. Still no Baneling Nest. Still no evolution chambers. And I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm reevaluating everything I've ever known about Zerg. Okay, finally a Baneling Nest. Okay, there we go. And a lair should start up soon. Or literally now as well. Right? Double evolution chambers. Okay, alright. I guess when he was about to slap everything down in the last game, he got hit with the Hellions, so it does excuse it a bit. It does excuse it a bit. It still feels awfully late. These double evolution chambers are going to finish so that he starts 1-1 when the Terran's 1-1 is already halfway done. Usually when I think of, you know, when I think of upgrades before Spire, which is not, you know, the most common build anymore, but it is still a build, I think of, like, timing out well, like, pretty even with the upgrades of the Terran. But oh well. Hellions do go down. That was a nice wraparound. And creep spread is going to be able to really free flow here. Fourth base on the way. Lair finally started. Jheffe should have another really good push, actually. Even saved the Liberator. I don't know where else it got damaged, but even saved the Liberator. Using it for defense is kind of an interesting tactic. I mean, I guess occasionally you see those Ling run-bys still work out, still be very painful, especially if the Hellions die. And Banelings would be especially weak against this Liberator siege, but usually you would see that repaired and go for harassment when you do the push, but whatever. Looks like he's hunting for Overlords. There's the 2 tanks being lifted in the medevacs and headed right towards that 4th base. It's not the typical 4th base that we see, but rather the usual 5th base. Now, I mean, both locations have their troubles, but this location, the tanks siege up here, the Marines can dive up here, they can always run back at the tanks. It's usually this base that's taken. There's also a little bit more creep spread for the base to be covered by compared to this base usually. Lings do not have any Baneling support, they do not have upgrades, and they are not going to take this fight at all. Liberator back at home does help out against a tiny run-by. This looks like a one-push stomp. Banelings finish up, but the damage has already been done. A hatchery and a lot of Lings. Pretty terrible trade on that. Oh my god! Well, unfortunately, you kill Baneling, it still explodes. For what ends up being actually 8 SCVs, I was going to say 3, but ends up being 8 SCVs. But Jheffe can also start doing drops. He's going to continue having faster upgrades. Although not as fast. Not if Mackintac started his upgrades immediately. Yeah, okay, they've caught up. They've caught up. Mackintac's going to go into an infestation pit looking towards that really fast hive, I would suspect. A lot of creep spread that was just cleaned up. Mackintac couldn't do very much about that. I believe this is a mistake. I do not think he means to go for the Cyclone upgrade while he builds Widow Mines. Not sure, is it? Well, the typical hotkeys would be C and R, wouldn't they? For those respective upgrades? pretty big misclick. Oh, it's a very aggressive push in, but he feels confident. He's cleared up so much creep. There's still no centrifugal hooks on the banelings, and now he has 4 tanks to get the damage done as the banelings have to go to and fro through this choke. There is a bit of a Ling run by prepared, but Eternal Empire is a really nice map because even though it has avenues for run bys and counterattacks, you can also take care of it with walls. So that's exactly what Jheffe is doing. The tanks collide, or the banelings collide into the tanks, and that might be it. There's still a lot of Marines left over. Only one more baneling I can see. It is Focus Fire down. Just enough Lings to actually do the trick here, with the Queens helping, but just barely. Jheffe has the reinforcements already headed over. This really should be Drilling Claws. That's the only thing that kind of sucks right now. But the Armory has already provided Widow Mines coverage. They're invisible after they shoot. There is that. Marines that were picked up in the fight go for the 5th base. Oh, sorry, that's the 4th. No 5th base quite yet. And the double drop goes to the natural. Mackintac trying desperately to get to that hive. If you ever got a couple ultras out with chitinous plating, the army type of Jheffe would struggle a little bit, but I feel like the army supply would not struggle. Band's gonna form and definitely take care of this one. Over here, the drops are... okay, there we go. Temporarily forgotten about. They're remembered. And there are no banelings here to defend this time. Just Marines in a tight corner. One of mine might actually be better off not burrowing until it's done. Yeah, exactly. Don't get any friendly fire. Upgrades will finish in the nick of time. Good God, that was close. But the drop is now on the main base, dealing even more damage. And also pulling Mackintac's attention away from the much more important push off the left side. This drop was partially cleaned up by a couple of banelings, but still not being cleaned up. And the armies are just not back here to deal with this. Mackintac doesn't have anything on his 4th base to cover it. Widow Mines, I mean, they don't have Drilling Claws, which I don't think Jheffe really has noticed quite yet. But again, being invisible is still a problem for Mackintac as he's being torn apart every which direction. I don't think he's managed to collect his Overseers recently. They doesn't look like it's hockey. He's trying to get to Adrenal Glands to help his Lings out, and the upgrades are even, but not yet throwing down an Ultralisk Cavern. Not quite able to afford it. Widow Mine's still not taken care of because of the invisibility. Grabs a Queen, and Medivacs live as there's not many anti-air units to really work around here. Jheffe is at a 60 supply lead. He's setting down his 4th base. Going up to his 3-3, finally realizing he doesn't have Drilling Claws and getting that rectified. He's pushing off to the right side now, and the one thing going for Mackintac is his creep spread. It is about to be cleaned up super easy. Top left still under pressure. Mackintac down to 3 bases and a macro hatch. That's not much economy. Oh. This one was a pretty good Widow Mine shot. Not much the Ling Baneling can do about the Medivacs, and they're not even cleaning up the Widow Mines. Even still, this one Overseer just not being used. Mackintac trying to go into Infestors for some good fungals is a really old school maneuver, but I don't know if it's going to be able to help. There's so many Marines. He's also finally trying to get to the Ultras Cavern. Oh my God, the Widow Mine shot there. That is the same Widow Mine from the first attack on the natural. Oh, and the Liberator even comes away from guarding the 3rd base to do some harassment. It does go over a Spore Brawler, but not able to grab the Ultralisk Cavern either as a Baneling collides into the Marines. But the Queens go down in the natural trope, runs away from the Banelings. They all go down to the fire of the Marines. The Fungals are here. They've been scouted. They might be able to take out a couple of Medivacs. The Mackintac is down to 3 bases, no 4th base on the way, lacking creep spread in every direction, and the only thing he has going for him is a couple of Fungals and 2 Ultras. Oh, the Infestors! Oh, don't lose him! Mackintac is down at half the supply. He'd need amazing Fungals with Baneling connections. And now we have Marauders, so we need a lot of Baneling connections. And Jheffe is just splitting all over the place. He's also taking a bunch of bases back at home. This isn't the last game, but Mackintac is really holding in here. That Ultra gets depleted. The rest of the army goes bye-bye. The Fungals aren't even here. They've all been used. One last Fungal gonna try and do something. Oh, maybe, maybe not. Got 2 Fungals. Nope, not gonna do anything. GG. Mackintac not looking so hot in his EVT. Who are these people? Okay. Ha! I tried to kick someone, I made him host. Alright, well suddenly we have a whole crew here. It is potentially the last map. Pillars of Gold. Looks pretty good for Jheffe fans. Jon Snow versus Satorix is another qualifying match. M. Canning versus Disc. And TvZ on the creature qualifier. The top right is the blue Terran. It is Jheffe. The bottom left with the red Zerg, it is Mackintac. Feels like everything's just off for the Zerg player. Terran player is doing the typical, very, very typical bread and butter build of a Terran player pretty well. No complaints there. It's just that Mackintac seems to be off with the evolution chamber, with the Baneling Nest, with the lair, with all that good stuff. Granted, I've been casting mostly 3-base layers. Spires, rather. So that's the timings I'm more used to right now. But even when double upgraded Lings were the more popular style, I feel like I had a handle on the timings of that one, and everything just feels off for this Zerg player. Can't even think of an opportunity where maybe he could have done something, like if only his Banelings connected better. Well, the first problem was he didn't have many Banelings. He didn't have Baneling speed. If only he had waited for his upgrades. Well, he didn't really have well-timed upgrades. So if he had waited for his upgrades, his 4th base dies anyways. I mean, I don't know if Mackintac can change things up here build order-wise. Even go something more aggressive, or just entirely change up to Roaches, but I think I'd like that. I'd prefer that. People asking about the dynamic of the Armory and Drilling Claws. If you have the Armory, then Woodamai is invisible. If you have Drilling Claws, it's invisible and it burrows fast. If the Armory dies, all it does is burrow fast. Hope that explained it. Other changes to this matchup for the balance patch, wouldn't mind probably being the biggest change. We also had the Creep Tumor change from Armored to Light, so Hellions get a better chance at actually doing something here in the early game harassment. And what else do we have change? Queen range was finally taken back down a notch. Now the Liberator has lost 1 range. The Queen also loses 1 range, because she got an additional range because of the Liberator to begin with. Well, she got 2 additional range back in 2012 because Blizzard made an oopsie-daisy. But, you know, that's a whole nother rant. Actually, it's going to be one of my episodes of Drunk History, talking about Broodlord and Fester, so that'll be fun. What else? I feel like I'm missing one of the patch changes for this matchup, but I can't remember which one. Maybe I'll see it and bring it up again, but I mean, there's the only thing that's really been, like, visually impactful, I feel, for this patch has been the shield overcharge. Like, you see a shield overcharge, not only is it bright and different and cool with the new skins as well, it's also just, you look at a stalker not die to 4 Marauders, and you're like, well, whew, okay then. Alrighty then. Whereas when you see a Creep Tumor die a little bit faster, big deal. When you see a Widow Mine not be cleaned up, kind of big deal, like it happens all the time. Obviously, it did play more into some of those games we've cast, qualifiers, particularly that last game, where, you know, without Drilling Claws, and with Drilling Claws being late because he accidentally got the wrong upgrade, it would have absolutely not fired and killed a queen. But anyways, yeah, just, it seems like the regular old Joe Schmo TvZ, not too much change, whereas TvP I think is a little bit different. We see a lot of stronger defenses against drops in the main, for instance, if you have appropriate energy and shield batteries. I like the change up already. I like the timing of the lair a lot more. 4-minute lair coming down here from Mackintac. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be for a Spire, so we'll also see a Baneling Nest accompany the lair at some point. At some point. We're gonna have a bit of a mix-up here for Jheffe. Goes for not a Liberator, but rather into Cloak. Doesn't start up Sim quite yet, but I do believe that is the intention. There it is. And, yeah. Okay. Hellion Banshee. And everything else going to the macro game, so we'll see if the Banshees can do anything. Big trend. Wait for the second Banshee, then do something with them. Don't necessarily go with the first Banshee. But it looks like Jheffe is just posturing, checking around for any roach play or anything that can tell him what his opponent is doing. He's been trying to maybe circumvent the queens, try and hit one of these hatcheries. Unfortunately, a lot of lings on creep to meet him, and this was not very good. A big loss of Hellings in the early game that will once again let Mackintac try and at least initiate some type of counter to delay the third. The Banshees don't really want to be third Guardians. They want to try and do something. Want to try and get some scouting. And there is the Spire. There is the Baneling Nest. I like this a lot better. I like it a lot. Obviously, players snipe armories. Not any more than they already do to delay upgrades, so. Oh, Baneling damage. Thank you, Maynard. Yeah, there is Baneling damage. Change. They didn't get reduced health, but they got a damage. What was it? They got more damage, regular, less to armor, or whatever. I'd still say that hasn't really shown itself to be a big impact. I mean, it was mostly supposed to impact ZVP anyways, and I'm talking about ZVT, but yeah. Still see a ton of Banelings, and the Banelings still do a ton of damage, you know what I mean? But yes, you're right, the Banelings did get changed. So, double evolution chamber coming down now. We'll hold off on actually upgrading, though, because he needs to get these mutas out first, as well as difficult hooks. You want to get that out first. If you don't, you're playing with fire, and that's a dangerous thing to do, because the Terran players are almost always going for the same push, slightly different timings, but only slightly. One Banshee goes down. Banshee so far a bit of a disappointment. Ooh, that one almost going down. I gotta say, Mackintac doing a much better build this game. 10 mutas. Could also invest into +1. The first attack is underway. It's actually going to be a double drop. I mean, there's no reason Jheffe would anticipate the Spire because of the way that Mackintac's been playing. But he does see a faster lair than the previous games, just because previous games the lairs were so late. It doesn't look like he's really read into that too much. No missile turrets on the fields. This is going to be a wall that won't actually complete, and not a whole lot of reinforcements back at home quite yet. 5 barracks just now all finishing getting the reactors done. So this is quite a surprise. They do a lot of damage, but the mutas over here, they're not here to defend against the medevacs. Are there any banelings formed? Not yet. 20 lings are available, make that 18. No queen as well. Spore Prologue could help a little tiny bit. It's going to be a bit of a trade here. Tractor also goes down. Mackintac has his upgrades and centrifugal hooks on the way. Jheffe is a little later to his armory than he intended to be because it's delayed. Oh no. Oh no. I don't really like the armory as part of the wall. Okay. Alright. Marines off creep. We don't have to really worry about getting surrounded by banelings. The lings number is not really high enough, and the mutas in this number without an upgrade aren't going to be enough either. Trying to make sure he keeps these units well protected though. Mackintac takes the bottom right base, which I don't think Jheffe's really anticipated. So many people are taking this base. So that could actually be kind of a freebie. Creep spread, actually, even the way the creep spread is being pushed, looks like this would be the base to take. But Jheffe is pushing off to the right side. Gonna clear up this creep. You see drones? Yeah, he sees the drones, so... That's unfortunate, because no creep spread over here. Like, if he really wanted to just go all the way to the right side, it'd be tough for Mackintac to defend. That said, if he goes all the way to the right, reinforcing diagonally, like, it's you know, quite a lengthy reinforcement line, so... There's a bit of a trade-off. Mine is seen. Not gonna take any shots from it. Gonna try and grab the tank. Not quite. Scans to make sure that is in fact a fourth base. And we'll see if Mackintac to defend. Baneling speed's done. Upgrades are done. Muta count getting into number 20s? Getting into 20s. Wow. That is an impressive Muta count, but he still needs a lot on the ground to help out here. At the end of the day, Mutas will not take on Marines, and so far this was a very clumsy hold. 14 Mutas, 20 Lings, and 6 Banelings. And Jheffe is reinforcing. As I said, it's a bit awkward. He's reinforcing from all the way up here to all the way down here. But his position is good. The lack of creep spread is good for Jheffe. And Mackintac has made so many mutas that, like, picking off tanks, picking off medevacs, picking up widow mines are all good. Can't really pick off Marines still. It requires quite a few mutas with +1. +1 is now done. More Lings have been made. Only a handful of Banelings, but it might just be enough. Kind of splits off creep. Oh, and then runs into a Baneling. So that will definitely be enough. Tank's gonna be cleaned up, no problem. Mackintac takes 7 drones worth of damage, but does actually hold. He has fallen behind on 2-2 as well, though. He was so busy replacing his mutas and building up that count so that the upgrades do not start. He actually prioritizes +2 flyer attack, so really investing into the mutas here. Shockingly, only lost 1. Dang, I thought he was gonna lose 3. Easy. Good focus fire on that widow mine. This one is gonna get a shot, but not that great. Mutas are severely weakened, but Jheffe might have taken on more than he can chew. Trying to be offensive. Medevac's starting to go down as well. Widow mines are going to be cleaned up because an overseer is still available. Whoop, nope, not anymore. But the widow mines were cleaned up. That's a very scary moment there, you know. If you don't take any return damage, if the mutas don't chase you back home, you can kind of take a chill pill, recollect yourself, get a 4th base, and you still have another 2-2 attack probably to work with. But if they do chase you, if they do catch your reinforcements just before you have enough Marines, just before you have a Thor out, then that supply suddenly looks very good for the Zerg. I don't know what Mackintac was doing the previous 2 games, but it honestly looks like a different player for game number 3, which I'm glad to say, but it's already be down 2 lives and then lives. Talking so far. And then now to actually go into overdrive. If we're gonna take this game, it's gonna be tough to take 2 more. 9 SVs go down to the Lings. Finally, we have at least 1 upgrade started for the ground army, +2 melee. But Jheffe is already on his way to +3 attack. He has stabilized on his army, so no big ball of Ling Baneling Muta is going to kill him here. Mackintac actually maybe missing some injects, starting to accrue a lot of minerals. A couple widow mines being quite the bother, reminding him to make overseers. We got 2 more on the way. No 5th base. So wait, no, it's right there. It's actually just, I mean, I thought the 5th base would go over here, but nope. This has the same problem as this base, where the creep spread really isn't that far out to help it. Drone's starting to go down. 11 in total. Jheffe very bold, and without that scan to clean up these 2 creep tumors, really wants to tackle the muta count too. Once again, they're up to the count of 28 mutas. That's a lot, but they want to be very careful against the Thor. Another Thor just popped out. It's going to be rallied across the map. Jheffe continuing to push his expansions this direction as well. Good micro on the Thor, but it gets bopped by another Banelings. There are still just enough Banelings, maybe to clean up the rest of the reinforcements. Widow Mine's injuring the Thor, the mutas even further. And they are not going to be able to tackle the rest of the Marines. Medevacs are looking a little bit dry. But yeah, Marines against mutas typically goes in favor of the Marines. What was once 28 mutas is down to 9 mutas. 15 drones also went down. This base has not been mining 100% at all, I feel, in this game. Like, in this base is not mining either. Mackintac only had 66 drones, where I think you'd really love to be up more towards 75 playing this style. And he's also about to deal with the dreaded +3 attack for the Terran. That's usually one of the big deciding moments Have you taken enough of the map? Have you gotten enough of an economy? Have you gotten enough technology? Are you already up to ultras by the time we have +3? Or are you stuck? And Mackintac is certainly a little bit stuck right now. The mutas, despite being really high numbers, didn't really ever shine as much as I think they would have wanted. Just that one moment here is kind of where they shone the brightest. And since then, they've just been expensive losses, very expensive losses. Still going to invest into him with a +1 Carapace. But not only do they want to try and control the fights, you know, get rid of Widow Mines, get rid of Minivacs, they do want to try and get back into the mineral lines of the Terran. Kill some SCVs, distract him. I mean, even a Ling Run by do that. And finally, we do see some aggression from Mackintac. It's been mostly defense. Getting some Lings out there. They're not really fully upgraded, but they can still do some damage. The wall is down, so 5th base hatchery is going to go down for Mackintac. At least some SCVs might go down. This might be the last push. Thor goes down to, with the help of the Widow Mine, of course. Why? Why not? Widow Mines are super cool. With another Thor bringing it up here. Marines still around. The mutas just aren't a fighting force. Like, that is usually what these battles are all about, or how many mutas end up surviving after the fight is said and done. And it's always like, it's even half of what it started. Now at 13, trying to get 8 more. Baneling's gonna try and collide in with the army that's already pre-split. This is actually where Lings usually do a decent job, but not only are the Lings not fully upgraded just as they should be with 2-2, they are up against 3-3. Even as +2 Carapace finishes for those Lings, they're gonna really struggle. Jheffe is once again low on medevac energy, so maybe the mutas can start picking off some of these units. Gonna try and find a Thor. Not really gonna find a Thor. They're gonna find a Thor and a Widow Mine and lose all of their lives, and that is going to be it. Mackintac, I did like that game a lot more, but I think there was a little bit of overemphasis on the mutas. And, of course, the mutas didn't do what they could have in those numbers. If the Zerg player gets to 28 mutas with +1, often we're talking like a very obnoxious game for the Terran player. The Marauders on the front line trying to soak Banelings, constantly getting sniped. Thor's getting magic boxed. Production going down in 30 seconds. Because the mutas are just too good at dealing with the bouncing around the bases. And it gets really